prepared a letter of apology in the name of the doctor. Happily, the patient forgave him. Happy ending. In another case, the same doctor came to see me. What had happened was, he had, again about X-ray films by the way, he was instructed by a big oil company to undertake a medical examination of a young woman, a Malay girl, who was seeking employment. An X-ray film was supposed to be taken. No film was taken because a clinic nurse had mixed up the records and said to the doctor, she's pregnant, so therefore we cannot take an X-ray film. So in the report to the employers, the doctor had said, no X-ray film was taken because she's pregnant. Now, this girl was unmarried, a Malay. The implication therefore is that she had engaged in sexual intercourse. As you know, to a Muslim, that is extremely defamatory. Of course, there's such a thing as a virgin birth now, right? Look at the problems that doctors force lawyers to know. When they came up with this artificial insemination and all these modern forms of reproductive technology where you don't need sexual intercourse, look at the legal problems they give us, you know. We have to try to figure out, you know, whose baby is it, is the baby legitimate or not. By the way, Professor Ahmad Ibrahim, when he talked to us in the first year, he told us, you know, about illegitimacy. There's no such thing as an illegitimate child. There are only illegitimate parents. That's, I'm like a typical Indian witness, you know, you get distracted, right? Now, let's come back to this thing about X-ray film, right? So, it was defamatory, as I said, to say this of this young woman. So, we prepared a letter of apology to that young lady, with a copy to the employer. Happily, she accepted the explanation and she got the job. Happy ending, she did not sue. Otherwise, that doctor would have been deep trouble. Now, but I've had, you know, the other kind of situation where a patient suffers an accident, there is no fault, but because of the conduct of lawyers, things get aggravated. I have seen that. So the lawyer has a very important role to play. Where there is fault, I think then the matter should be pursued. But fault should not be found unless there is a proper examination of the clinical facts, expert opinion is sought when appropriate, legal opinion is sought, and a conclusion is reached. Now, one of the sad parts about the doctor-patient relationship in Malaysia is that many a patient who suffers an accident is in need but cannot prove fault. Our system of compensation is based on fault, not need. And that is an anomaly. Professor Kulendran mentioned the case of, say, a brain-damaged baby is, say, severely mentally retarded who needs care for the rest of her life. If fault cannot be proven on the part of the doctor, under our Malaysian system of litigation, that child will not get compensation. And this is a very difficult thing for many people to accept. And Dr. Rajkumar, I remember, was very, very troubled about that. About many people in this country, patients who are in need, who cannot get help. All the more, therefore, I will emphasize, doctors and lawyers must work together to producing a just society, that those in need are not neglected by our society. It's not enough just of talking about suing for compensation. The majority of cases will not result in a successful claim. But these people are very often in need. And I think litigation against doctors will come down if we have a proper social and welfare net to care for, to provide for these people. I ask you to look into that. That we need to produce a just and fair society. Now, you know, I've been talking so very seriously, but I'm reminded now of how things were like at one time. Once at the medical faculty, Dr. V.C. George, retired judge of the Court of Appeal, and I and Professor H.O. Lim, endocrinologist. She was the wife of the foundation dean, Professor Tanaraj, were called to sit as judges in a debate between the University of Malaya medical alumni and its visitors. And you know what was the motion? There is no life without sex. What an entertaining afternoon we had. Maybe, next year you will invite me at least to sit as a member of the audience. Please don't ask me to speak on the subject. I don't know what to say. I think Professor Kulendran will have a lot to say. Right? And when I was an undergraduate in this university, yes, we had parliamentary debates. One year we had this important bill, the Cows Preservation of Morals Bill. The government wanted cows to wear bras.
Cows.
Yes. It's very important that cows should wear bras. That was the topic we had for debates. I mean, we got a very serious topic about euthanasia. That's very important, whether a person is alive or dead, whether the person should be put to death, etc. And I remember though, Professor Gopal Bharadam from Singapore, neurosurgeon, once we were debating the subject of brain death in this country, one night we were having a meeting, and he said, he explained to the father of a young man in Singapore, he said, I'm sorry, your son is brain dead. Brain dead means dead, so pulling the plug does not mean that therefore he will die. I mean, that only then he is going to die. You know what the father replied when he heard that the son was brain dead? He said, oh, there's still hope there. It's very important therefore to communicate well. The father misunderstood the point completely. He thought that the son was still alive. But I don't know about this one, whether it's a true story or not. Because in the ICU, every morning at about 9 o'clock, a ventilated patient would die. At about 9 o'clock. The doctors were very puzzled. They thought the patients, all these patients were doing well, but one after another, they all died. So they all decided, shall we wait and see, hide ourselves nearby, and see what goes on. At about 8:55, the cleaner came. The vacuum cleaner unplugged the ventilator. Everything and went off. And that's the fact. That's how it happened. I don't know whether it's a true story, but it sounds funny enough. Another point I'd like to tell you about is to think about the doctor-patient relationship. That there's too much of emphasis in this country on the subject of medical negligence. Too much. Medical negligence largely is about getting money for the victim of a medical accident. But there are so many other aspects of the doctor-patient relationship. The doctor as protector of the patient. Child abuse, spousal abuse, the abuse of political prisoners, all these things, human rights. What about, say, protection of the family? That a lot of things where doctors can do something about preserving the family as a vital unit of our society. It's very, very important. Doctors are called, very often in the family law cases in regard to such matters as whether a man was capable of sexual intercourse, questions about, say, whether a child is legitimate. There can be disputes about property, right? Whether a man was of sound mind at the time when he made the will. There was an important case in Penang, of a millionaire who was quite old when he made the will. And the judge took medical evidence as regards whether he was of sound mind at the time that he made the will. One important bit of evidence that came up was that he was very, very old, went to see his doctor, he wanted a penile implant. He wanted to continue having a sex life. That shows that he was of sound mind. Maybe optimistic, sound mind, he knew what he wanted. It's all very important. Now, I must, let me see, have I missed out anything? Sometimes I'm like a lawyer, address judge. And Tun Sufyan, of course, was a very, very patient judge. When he sat in the federal court, he used to complain to us about a certain lawyer who was very long-winded. One day I heard a story about that lawyer. I wasn't there. See, this lawyer was going on and on and on. The presiding judge said, you've been going on for quite some time, but we are unable to follow your arguments. The lawyer said, never mind my lords, I'll start all over again. When I asked Tun Sufyan about it, he denied that he was the judge presiding at the time. No, he was too kind. Now, let me see, I was going to say something more. Maybe not, I will leave it to cross-examination. That is substantially my evidence given under examination in chief. I leave it to you to cross-examine me. But if I may conclude with the words of advice given by Raja Abdul Aziz Al truly a fine lawyer. I wish he had become Attorney General. This country would have been a better country. My opinion, he has become Attorney General. He once said at a law conference, lawyers must have idealism. And I think it's a very telling point. Have idealism. And this country will be a better country. With those words, I conclude my examination in chief. I wish you all a happy and fulfilling career, whether it's in medicine or law or in humor, because I think we need more humor. My ambition is to become a stand-up comedian. My wife wants me